Ladies and gentlemen, it's your favorite Sunday evening Alabama show, and Alabama, not just Alabama show, but show period on YouTube and pretty much any social media platform. This is the Bama Standard post game show. Go ahead, hit that like and subscribe button if you're here with us. Get in that live chat. Let us know what you think because you are the driving force for this show. If you're watching a replay, please get in the comment section. Let us know what you think. You're the ones who keep this thing going. As always, we're brought to you by Workspace Solutions and Oakmont Financial Partners. I am Justin Riley, and with me is always, well, actually back from a hiatus, guys, the honorable, the legend, the man who keeps it real with the X's and O's, the Coach Smook. Glad to
What's
have
up,
you
man?
back, sir.
What's up, brother? I missed y'all last week. I
Hey,
was out on the road, man, doing things, trying to make money.
I
Nah,
understand. I
they
understand.
had
But
me
listen,
working, man. They've been slaving your boy.
do they not understand the contribution that you make on Sunday nights here on YouTube? I'm
They
wondering, man,
tripping, man.
priorities.
They messing with my time, man. They
They
messing with my
are.
time. I can't play that.
I will let you know that Stephen M. Smith filled in nicely last week. So
Yeah, I
we didn't
enjoyed it.
have any drop off whatsoever. So thanks to
Facts.
Stephen M. Smith. Welcome in, everybody in the chat. Glad to see you guys are already here. Hey, before we get started on our topics, got to draw some attention to something, Coach. We talked about this a little bit before we jumped on air. The first time in program history, Alabama has the unique opportunity of having the number one overall pick in the NFL draft and the NBA draft. Bryce Young in football, of course, we all know what he's done. And now in basketball, we've never had a guy this even be considered as the number one overall pick. But now
Never.
we got Miller, who is quite possibly that guy. What an amazing a lap of luxury we have here in Alabama.
That just goes to show you the quality of the university when it comes to athletics department, um, and the athletic director and the direction that we're taking. Um, just the transitional phase that we went through by assuming control of college football for the amount of years that we did, and you could tell that he's partnered with each program, each athletic department as far as basketball, baseball, football, and cheerleading. I mean, gymnastics, softball. I mean, any and everything. I even saw some guys competing on track and field this past year, um, from Bama. Getting into those regionals and those visual things, getting in front of the camera as
Mm-hmm.
an Alabama athlete, and with NIL, I feel like we're peaking at the right time with the way we're recruiting and providing those 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 recruiting bites that keep kids wondering why Bama,
Right.
and we continue to be able to show them. Basketball is a little bit harder because we don't have the national championships and all that stuff, but you get a guy like Nate Oateson who understands this time and age of basketball, and he's able to adjust his philosophy to his players, and but instill that importance of defense. And
Mm.
now we see him with recruits that he's been watching for years now, 5-6 years now, and people that are popping up on his radar because of the same recruits that he's watching are making connections. So that's what you see with this group of guys here. A lot of previously made connections before they even got on campus, and the chemistry is just overwhelming. And the amount of talent that's on that roster, on the basketball roster, is crazy. With Brandon Miller,
Mm-hmm.
and then Quinterly, I think that's his name.
Yeah, Quinterly.
Those two
Javon
guys, man.
Quinterly.
Yeah, those guys can put the ball in the basket, man, and it's crazy. Just the length we have. I said it last time we were talking about Bama ball. Uh, the length we have across the floor is ridiculous, man. So when you got guys that you can stretch the floor, cover the floor, and you can run and shoot. Like, it's hard to beat teams like that. Shoot efficiently, not
Mm-hmm.
just shoot, but shoot efficiently. It's hard to beat teams like that, especially on the college level. So yeah, it's a good thing for Bama athletics as a whole, not just basketball and football, but Bama athletics as a whole, the university as a whole, and it's a good thing for us. It's a good thing for us as fans.
Yeah, no question. And Nate Oates, that is, was joking a few weeks ago about instilling that make their ass quit mentality that most associate with Coach Saban. I don't think that it was really a joke. I think that
Mm-mm.
exactly the personality that he is injecting into this team. And this is an unselfish group. This is a group that's going to work hard. Blue collar basketball, wearing that hard hat, earning that hard hat award after every game. We're balanced. We're able to play tremendous defense, and we're able to take the will out of opponents even before that we step on the floor. And then on the offensive end, we can shoot it, go lights out. And it's not just one guy. We're not depending on one guy to carry the whole show. If it's not Miller, it's Clowney. If it's not Clowney, it's Sears. It's just we're deep. That's the
Yeah,
best way to put it. And for the first time, I think since what was it, 1976, we're 17-2. We're also 7-0 in conference. This
right.
is a great time to be a Bama basketball fan.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. I remember when Auburn fans, probably like 2 or 3 years ago, the Pearl jamming chants and all that stuff. You don't hear that mess no more. I knew that was gonna be like a one time pony. You know what I'm saying? Like that was gonna be a short lived phase for them. It's just the nature of Opelika University, and 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 so it's different at Bama. There's a such thing as longevity that tends to stop through the university every now and then. We experienced it early in our football stages, early in the 50s and 60s or whatever. And then you come back around to the 90s, early 90s, we were there. Come back around to when Saban got back around. It was just like one of those things where you find ways to just be relevant,
Mm-hmm.
and to carry on to the next phase. So, like I said, man, but definitely Brandon Miller, man. That'll be a surprise. I don't think he'll go number one. As great of a player as he is, there's some guys out there that's just like on a different level. But for this system right now, and I think that's what it end up. He'll be getting beat out in like combine type stuff because he's not super athletic, like some of the other top prospects, but he's definitely a valuable player. One of those players I could see going into the league and probably not popping off his first year or his second year, but being like a Jordan Clarkson type player,
Mm-hmm.
where after year 3 he kind of figures it out and becomes a very valuable asset for any team that he goes to.
Absolutely. I can't think of anyone that we've been this most excited about in quite some time. I probably have to go all the way back to what Antonio McDyess, and before that, Latrell Sprewell.
Uh,
Definitely a baller.
yeah, Sexton. You
Yeah,
can't
well,
forget
Colin
Colin.
Sexton, but
Yeah, because he came in but I don't think he had as much hype as Miller had coming in.
right,
So
right.
Colin Sexton, like what he earned and the hype that he got getting drafted in the first round like that, to me was he worked for that. He earned it. And then he wasn't Colin under Avery?
It was
Under
under
Avery
Avery.
Johnson?
Yeah,
Yeah, so like he didn't get the experience. I feel like Colin Sexton probably wouldn't have been a highest prospect if he was under Oates, because you remember he didn't like defense when he first came to Bama.
you got to
So
play defense if you're
yeah, you
under
got to
Nate
play
Oates.
defense for Oates. So
But
and I'm surprised he even was able. Well, at that time it wasn't much talent around him. It was kind of scattered when Avery Johnson was here. But now with a
right,
team like this, you got to play defense to even showcase your offensive side. So yeah, it's
right.
exciting, man.
Definitely agree with Travelpreneur Sports Podcast. If they continue to cut down the turnovers, they are definitely a Final Four team. Yeah, that's I guess the main flaw,
Yeah,
but it's
and you
hard
know
to
what's
find a
crazy?
flaw outside of that.
Yeah, what's crazy is we're like in the top 3 as far as fewest turnovers in our league. So I think it was either 3 or 4 in fewest turnovers per game as far as the average. But what was really winning it for us is the offensive rebound side. Like I
Oh
don't
gosh, it's there.
and if you look at the stats in the for the SEC, I don't usually I just compare to our league when I look at stats and stuff. If you look at the stats though, I think we're out rebounding the next team by like an average of 7 or 8 rebounds a game on the offensive
Yeah,
side, and we're leading in total rebounds per game. So Yeah.
Well, it's been a good stretch for Alabama basketball. One, they beat Arkansas on the road, then they came and beat Vandy on the road. I know people are probably looking at Vandy's record and saying, why is that a big deal? Well, historically, as of late, we've had a hard time going to Nashville and coming away with a victory. And this
Right.
is actually the first time in quite some time we've beaten Arkansas and Vanderbilt both on the road. And then right after that, we go and we beat Missouri on the road by
Missouri.
21. Another place that we have a hard time coming away with a W. We did that in great fashion, so things are looking good. So
On the road too. All
on the
three of those.
road, on the road, on the road. Well, listen, it's time to talk about football. I like to take the first 10 minutes to kind of cover everything that's going on at the university, but we're here for football, right?
Yes,
And we got
sir.
some
Let's
things that
get
are
it.
going on. We got some things that are going on. Chat, we definitely need your help and your input as we go into our first topic, and that is transfer inside linebacker
Mhm.
Trezmen Marshall. Gosh, coach, what a dramatic turn of events. He wins the Natty. Next thing we know, he's in the portal. Before we can even speculate as to where he's going, he's at Bama. He's enrolled in the program. I think he's already in the yearbook. He got there in time. So
Right.
as a fit, he makes sense from a lot of different standpoints. Number one, Nick Saban and his coaching staff typically like to target guys in the transfer portal they have previous recruiting experience with. And this is a guy they did recruit out of high school, four-star linebacker, inside linebacker, top 10 at his position. They've done their homework on him, so they know exactly what they're getting. He fits the culture and the expectations because the culture and expectations that we have here mirrors exactly what he had with Kirby Smart. Exact same thing. So he knows exactly what he's getting into. He's familiar with all of it. He's not going to be coming in here looking lost and not knowing what to do. And from an experience standpoint, he's got experience under his belt. But that's one of the things I kind of a little bit leery with because we've had the guys here as of late that've got the quote unquote experience that didn't necessarily translate to huge dividends on the field. It is a win because let's face it, in the inside linebacker room or the linebacker room, the only person who's coming back is Deontay Lawson with major experience. You know, from a schematic standpoint, yeah, he knows what's coming, what's going to be asked of him. But I'm asking the question, why? Why is he coming? We have an inside linebacker room, as we discussed before the show started. Man, it's full. I mean, last game, Jihad Campbell, a guy who showed out. He is showing flashes of being the next great guy, along with Deontay Lawson. We don't have to go into too much detail about what Deontay can do, but we got Jihad. Sean Murphy played a little bit last year towards the later part of the season. He showed flashes of brilliance. But here's the other thing. We just got Justin Jefferson from JUCO. So my question is, do we really need Trezmen Marshall?
And I'm gonna follow you up. Let's do some history real quick.
Okay, I'm a history guy. Go ahead.
Last big JUCO transfer that we were so hype about. What was his name? Kyrie Jackson. What happened when Kyrie Jackson finally got on the field and it was showtime? All that experience and JUCO dominance and all that stuff, it didn't transfer to the field. And he
Right.
had been in Bama's system for more than more than a season at that point, when he had to show up. He
Mm-hmm.
had been in the system for a year. He had been getting snaps. And biggest, game of the year, national championship, you go out there and you get mossed. You get mossed. Not only were you get mossed, you got cooked twice in the biggest game of the year. And then you turn around the very next season and the first big game of the year, you getting cooked in Texas, in Austin. So you look at a guy like Justin Jefferson. Maybe we're bringing in a guy from a top defense, a number one defense, being in that system for 2 3 years. Wait, 3 years. He was in that system for 3 years. Similar system to ours. Um, had opportunities early, but got injured and showed flashes early. And still got the spot play with all the talent that came in behind him. We see the talent that came in at Georgia. So that's one JUCO transfer. But then we talk about we talk about Murphy and and Campbell
Hmm.
and I mean guys like that, they have so much to prove that you can't bank on just talent. We seen that. We seen that. Toa Toa was considered talented.
Hmm.
Um shoot, Moody was considered talented. Who else left? All those guys. I mean, I remember when what's my guy that was playing with Moody? The short linebacker. I think he transferred. I forget his. He had to play that year. Him and what's called it were freshmen, but they both were considered talented. So we, I think Saban's getting back to that old school. Like, all right, this is past the stars. We really want to see guys that can get out here and be physical because we have to
Hmm.
reestablish Bama dominance. And Marshall, coming from Georgia, that's a requirement to even step foot in the locker room.
Yeah,
Kirby preaches physicality.
of course.
Glenn Schumann is a student, a Saban student. When it comes to structure and physicality. So, um, you got to sit up, you got to sit back and really look at this thing like it's not guaranteed that anybody's going to pan out. So you have to stack you got to keep options available. And I think that's all that is because it's going to create a good competition with that amount of talent in that room. It should create good competition to where we should have a solid 3-man rotation at the inside linebacker spot. And that's like, because we know the Mike and the Will, they're interchangeable in Bama's defense under Coach Saban. So you get guys like, say for instance, we have a Lawson, Jefferson, and a Marshall rotation at middle linebacker. That makes me feel comfortable there. In hindsight, that makes me feel comfortable knowing those three guys with Lawson showing the flashes that he showed the constant improvement
Hmm.
that he showed through towards the end of the year, and then those other two coming in with the quote unquote experience. That makes me feel a little bit more confident and gives space for guys like Murphy and Alexander to continue to grow and just keep grinding. If they really gonna stick to their word, those two in particular, and Campbell, um, those guys stick to their word in particular. Uh, we could have some talent in that room for the next 3 to 4 years. With those guys, maybe having to play the backseat another year, as sophomores, and then coming into their junior year, like we're used to middle linebackers start taking over their junior year, late sophomore, early
That's
junior year.
true.
We used to that. So it's getting back to that. I feel like we're getting back to that process of not feeding into this kid might transfer if he don't play. Make them earn it. Continue to see where their loyalty lies, continue to see where their dedication is, and make them earn it because then you get the values of the program back established.
Right. And I understand what you're saying as far as making them earn it. And yes, we've seen guys flourish and blossom in their junior year. Reggie Ragland, perfect example. Reuben Foster,
Perfect.
another
Perfect.
example. So this is kind of why I'm wondering, okay, why bring a guy from the outside in when we have guys who are going to be going into the later part of their career there who have an opportunity to really take over. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not taking anything away from Trezmen Marshall. This guy is a talented kid. We wouldn't even be looking his way if he did not possess the intangibles to play at Alabama. This is a guy Coach Saban pursued heavily when he was coming out of high school. He's a hard hitter. He's a thumper, something that we desperately need to come back. And listen, I know a lot of people are looking at his production at Georgia. His highest amount of tackles was this year with 17. But let me explain that if people hadn't really done their homework, he's a guy who's been plagued with injury. And much like here at Alabama, if you get the injury bug because there's so many talented guys that are at your position already, you tend to get lost in the shuffle and it's hard to really climb back up that mountain. So here's a guy who has a new lease on life and is able to come to Alabama and possibly be the guy that he was projected to be coming out of high school.
Yeah. And I see a comment in the section said, don't forget about Blackshear. Um, Kendrick Blackshear, I think they're moving him outside, man. And Marshall's an inside linebacker. So I think this actually makes it even more divert. Like with the cheetah package, I feel like Marshall gives us a more solid inside feel with
Mhm.
your speed rushing guys on the edge. You don't,
Right.
and that's where Toa Toa struggled and even Moody would be good when we had a traditional 3-man front. So that's when he would thrive. But whenever we brought that cheetah package in and he was that will, you could see that he wasn't comfortable with creating destruction in the trenches, creating chaos in the trenches. So Lawson was a guy that could shoot gaps very well, and that made up for having to be so contact oriented when engaging in the trenches. He would just beat a guy to through a spot and be able to make plays in the backfield. So it's a good thing to see. Like I said, I think Marshall is a good player. I'm not going to be excited over him. Just like I wasn't excited when Burton left Georgia and came.
Right.
I feel like there's a culture conflict there, being being that we are the two top teams in college football. For the past 3 or 4 years, is always Alabama Georgia discussion. You might get an Ohio State, Michigan, Clemson thrown in there, or whoever's hot at the time. But Georgia and Alabama have been at the top for the past 4 years, 5 years, and you wonder when a guy leaves a championship pedigree program like that. Just like when guys leave Bama, you see how our fans do him. He wasn't playing anyways. This, that, and the
Yeah,
third.
yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that's the same narrative following Marshall coming over to Bama. Same thing came with Burton. And we saw what happened with Burton. He didn't show up until a bowl game, and it's sad that it took that long for him to be able to showcase his skill set, because I felt like Burton was a decent receiver. I never thought he was great, but I thought he was a good enough receiver to contribute. And the lack of contribution that he was able to give us this year was just trash. So I'm not too hype about it, but it is a good pickup. Marshall's and he's a solid inside linebacker size that we want. So
Well, he's definitely not guaranteed the starting spot. There's
right.
no question about that. He is a good, solid rotation guy. I will go ahead and go on record as saying he'll be in that rotation, like you mentioned earlier. But I do question why these guys are winning championships at Georgia and then leaving to go elsewhere, especially to an Alabama. You had several guys leave right after the championships, and they weren't guys who were scrubs. They had significant playing time. They had good snaps, but yet they're leaving. So are they going to Georgia initially to get that ring, but then coming to Saban and using that as a business transaction to get to the NFL? We possibly
Man,
looking at that.
you know what, Justin? I would not put it past that, because right now NIL has turned college football into a business. Like, it's getting to the point where kids are in high school, their junior and senior year, already scouting out agents. Like, it should not be like that, man. The love of the game is what kept Alabama, what kept Georgia, what kept, like, before all this NIL stuff, man, is what kept the game of football. And so you got adults getting in these kids' ears in their most vulnerable times of their lives,
Right.
trying to make a buck off of them, and it's sad, but at the same time, it's just the nature of the beast, because at the end of the day, your ultimate goal is to get to the business level of being a professional athlete.
Right.
I understand progression and integration and all that stuff with bringing that aspect to college, but you have to put some barriers on it, and you have to have some type of strict control over it, to where it's not affecting these guys, and is not affecting the universities at the end of the day. Because when these guys leave, you got to think transfer money was allotted for these guys. I mean, not transfer, but scholarship money was allotted for
Right.
these guys. And so guys get in their feelings, and a lot of paperwork and legal stuff is done before they transfer. People don't know that. People think kids just wake up one day and say, excuse me, I'm gonna put my name in the transfer portal, but it's not like that. They have to go through different legal stuff with the universities and get their name in there, even if they don't decide to transfer. It's a lot of money being exchanged. So at the end of the day, I'm mixed up about it. Feel like the players deserve, this type of opportunities and their ability to transfer and leave like that. But at the same time, it's creating a culture of, I don't have to prove myself, because if it
Yeah.
don't work out here, I could go somewhere else.
I agree. And to your point earlier about the agents preying on these kids. It's not just the agents who are coming after them. It's a bad situation, but a lot of them don't have the luxury of having proper advisors around them, i.e.,
Correct.
family members. All family members are looking at as them being a cash cow for them to bring them a little something to hold at the end of the day.
See
So
what
they don't
Florida
have
going
their
through.
best interests at heart. I think players getting paid is a good thing. Where it's messed up is there's no governing body to regulate anything. I think if you're going to do it, why not have it mirror the incentive-based system that the NFL has? Have them,
Correct.
earn, increases instead of just giving them $13 million right off the bat. Jalen Rashada.
Right. I
We
mean, and
see,
that's what I'm saying. Like stuff like that. The kid is sitting. He didn't even play in the. Did he play in the Under Armour All-Star game? I don't think he
he
even
played
played
in the, he
because
played in the game, but then he didn't show up on signing day to
right.
Florida. And I think he came the day after, but when it came time for the next semester to start, he was nowhere to be found, and he's requesting for his letter of intent to be
Release.
released.
Hmm.
Because he didn't get the dollar amount that he felt like it was due him.
And like you didn't even earn that, son. Like
Well, that's the
you
thing,
got
man. First of all, shame on the people for offering 13 million or however much the amount is.
because that one
But
player is
also,
not going to get you that national championship or nothing. Like
no,
it makes no sense to me why these people are throwing money at these kids. You know how many 5-stars have gone? Blake Barnett. I believe if NIL was a thing when Blake Barnett was coming out of high school, y'all remember how much hype Blake Barnett got coming to Alabama?
oh
Y'all
yeah,
Bama fans, we remember. I mean, some of y'all Bama fans, not me. I'm gonna say y'all Bama fans because I was never sold on the kid. He played uh Cali ball at a prep school that wasn't even like nationally ranked or some junk like that.
right.
Like, come on, he basically was playing and Justin, 3A football in Bama, it can get crazy depending on what part of Alabama you from.
Oh, absolutely.
But more times than usual, 3A football is basically private school ball. Like your kids are middle school size. Your offensive linemen are 180 pounds, 190 pounds. Like when you play at schools like that and you get 5-star ratings, you got to come and show me something. This ain't Bryce Young at what Marta Day. We
Yeah,
seen the type
it's
of talent
different. Yeah,
and you get what I'm saying?
that's
That's
that's a
different
farm
Cali ball.
system right there.
Yeah. You get what I'm saying?
That,
St. John's Bosco, the other Bishop Gorman out of
yep,
you get what I'm saying? Those type of schools,
absolutely.
yeah, IMG. But Blake Barnett, he would have capitalized on NIL
Oh
coming
yeah,
out of high school.
great
And we
example.
saw what he was.
A
You get
crybaby,
what
actually, that was
exactly
bouncing from university to university.
right.
Hey,
Tate
that's why.
Martell.
Oh God, Tate Martell. Jeez.
I'm
Hey,
telling you,
go if you're not familiar with Tate Martell and his antics, go on Netflix and watch QB1
QB. Oh my God.
eye-opening series, guys. Hey, I'm not on the Arch Manning train either. He's
Me
played
neither.
a two-way school. Their defensive linemen are the size of our defensive backs, if that tells you
Right.
anything.
Right. And that's what I was saying when I laugh at some of the Bama fans. And guys, do not beat me up. Until Ty Simpson proves that he can get out there and do it. That's how I feel about Ty. I feel like he's way more talented than Blake Barnett and Tate Martell and those other guys.
Gosh, yes.
But I don't
Better
know
attitude
if
too.
he's able to experience that level of competition because of where he came from out of high school. Like, you look like the guy and go look at all you gotta do is throw on some of these guys' highlight films. When you see a guy like Ty Simpson who legit runs a 4.6, we're not going to lie about this. Ty Simpson runs a 4.6. When you see a guy like him pulling away from players in a game 3 or 4 times in the highlight film, that you gotta really look at the level of competition he's playing against before we start giving him all this hype. Now you look at Milroe coming out of Katy. We know what type of football comes out of Texas. I don't care what level of football you play. I watched Killeen High School put out numbers. You know what I'm saying? And that's I think it's a 2A, 3A school. Did you ring the bell on me?
I did. It means your time's up, sir.
I
Hey,
heard. I was like, Is my phone going off?
We got an upgrade here on the Bama Standard YouTube channel. Thanks
That's
to
what's
everybody's
up, man.
donations.
You got triggers.
But listen, that's a subject we're definitely going to go into in
We
depth
got
with.
to.
Yeah, I was definitely, and I'm ready to get back on my tangent of quit sleeping on Milrow. I'm ready
Right.
to get back on that. We will get to it. Now on to our next topic. Listen, guys, there is nothing more polarizing right now than the defensive coordinator position at the University of Alabama. There are three big names that are being thrown around right now. Jim Leonard, of course, I don't feel like he's coming because the NFL is his true love, and he's on a lot of teams' short lists. But then you also have Glenn Schumann out of Georgia, who I think is very real to come fulfill that duty here at the University of Alabama. But then also you have the fan vote. Well, I guess it's kind of split down the middle, which is crazy. Jeremy Pruitt. It's funny because it's 50-50 on the approval rating right now, which kind of blows my mind. You got one side who are all for it because we know what he can bring to the table. He understands the Bama standard. He understands what Coach Saban wants. Coach Saban doesn't have to stand over him at all. It's basically just, here are the keys to the car. I'm going to be a CEO. You do your thing. Let's get some titles. That's basically all the conversation has to be between the two of them. But now there are 50% of the fans that are opposing this hire. Help me to understand, Coach Smook, why bringing Jeremy Pruitt is a bad thing. Look, first of all, I'm going to throw it out there. I get that people think that because of what happened at Tennessee, that his reputation is tarnished forever. First of all, you hypocrites. Quit throwing stones at that man. What coach in the game of college football before NIL was not doing a little something under the table? I'm not accusing. You do to stay relevant, but here's the thing. I'm not necessarily going to accuse him, but I will also point to another direction. His boss was Philip Fulmer. If any of the older Bama fans in the audience right now are here, please let the younger fans know exactly what his reputation was. He's definitely not a saint. If anything, I feel like Philip Fulmer was the culprit here, and he pushed a lot of this on Jeremy Pruitt because he didn't want him there in the first place. So he's a scapegoat. But listen, I'm getting fired up, Coach. I'm getting fired up. I'm starting to turn into Shannon Sharp right now.
You sound like conspiracy brother right now, boy.
Conspiracy, bro. I started to sound like Shannon Sharp a little bit. Skip,
right? Skip, nah, Skip, you ain't gonna do that, Skip. No, Skip.
But here's the thing: have we forgotten already? Some short years ago, we brought in a situation with Lane Kiffin. Then we brought on a known drunk and Steve Sarkisian. And we were definitely against that. We're not going to have that here. That's something Coach Bryant wouldn't dare bring into this program. And what happened in the end, guys, every coordinator after Kiffin and Sarkisian has been held to those guys' standards. But we're forgetting that. How are we forgetting that the Coach Saban rehabilitation program is notorious for bringing in guys with baggage, as everybody is saying that he has, and turn things dramatically around, and they go from being thrown away to the hottest commodity.
And you know what, Justin? The thing is, you nailed it on the head with the Pruitt situation, because you got to remember Pruitt was already coming when he came back to Bama. He was coming out of a situation. So you look at even Bush Jones too. Bush Jones, when he came to Bama, he was coming out of a situation. Just Tennessee in itself is like a go there and die for coaches with potential. Lane Kiffin was there, and I feel like Josh Heupel, how you say his last name?
Josh Heupel.
Mm-hmm. The only reason I don't think, because he's one of those saint guys, you know what I'm saying? Like, he probably get let go because of a bad season, even though we seen what he's been able to do for that university. If he's not a go with the flow type of guy when it comes from taking calls from up top, they'll fire him for a 7-6 season type. You know what I'm saying? Even though Tennessee has been having that for years, they've allowed coaches 4, 5, 6 years with 7-6 wins. You know, Hype will lose if he loses and he's not doing what they're asking him to do to get whatever recruits. I guarantee you he's out of there. And it's just the nature of Tennessee. But for people to not want to have Jeremy Pruitt back, let's not even talk about the extra stuff. Let's talk about schematically and what he's been able to produce off on the field to send to the NFL. He had a hand in sending off the most amount of Alabama NFL draft picks that we've had in the span in a time span. Right. That happened during his time as some position coach or coordinator on the Alabama defensive staff. We are not going to look past that. Secondly, the year was it 2016 non-offensive touchdowns when we set a new mark. That was Pruitt. That was Pruitt. So I mean, and he creates a culture of intensity, aggressiveness, physicality. Like he embodies that because he was there in the beginning when it was being developed. So if you want anybody to come in and kind of reestablish that, you want somebody that that's all they know. That's all they know. What's made them successful was even brought their name into the conversation. You want them to come in and reestablish that so that the support staff, those position coaches, there is no gray line. They know the expectation. Pete Golden left too many gray areas for I feel like he left too many gray areas for his position coaches to do whatever they do. And it wasn't a standard being held. Everybody wasn't being held accountable at the same standard. It was kind of like, all right, that's your best. We're going to have to settle with that and adjust. No, there's a standard. Either reach the standard or don't get on the field. And I feel like Pruitt is that guy.
Without doubt. And I find it very ironic how me and you and Marvin Constant and the guys on the other show have drawn so much pushback from the "how dare you question Nick Saban" crowd. But yet here we are looking at the same situation to where Nick Saban quite possibly is looking to bring him back in, and they're doing the very thing that they're accusing us of doing. Don't question Nick Saban. How dare you question the GOAT? Listen, guys, Coach Saban isn't just taking a leap of faith and bringing him in blindly. This is a guy who's calculated. He's precise. He's doing his homework before anything at all happens. And hey, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, he's already been given the green light to do this.
Right. And that's the thing, Justin. Like people, I feel like Jeremy Pruitt was on our radar last year.
Yeah.
I feel like he was on our radar last year, but because of the allegations and everything, of course, it creates and I think that's why he's been so quiet. He hasn't been adamant about being, making public responses about his situation. Like I feel like he's letting Coach Saban kind of figure it out for him to set him up for his resurgence. And I told you, man, then I feel like, and I'm so serious, even if Alabama somehow gets a crazy offensive coordinator hire, like a high-end offensive coordinator hire like Brady or Garrett Riley, I feel like the next defensive coordinator hire is going to be the one that we're kind of going to mold to be the next head coach for Alabama under Saban. And what other I mean, Jeremy Pruitt just needs a good babysitter. That's it. He just needs a good babysitter. Because football, there's no question he knows football on the defensive end. There's no question about that. But the business side, he needs a personal assistant or somebody, an assistant head coach that can kind of like, hey, I'll make the behind the door decisions on how we handle this or whatever. You get what I'm saying? He needs a good advisory staff as a head coach. But him as a defensive coordinator where he ain't got to do nothing but scheme defense and run the defense, you can't beat that. Jeremy Pruitt, even at Tennessee, top 10 defense.
And Marvin brought this up last week is, first of all, because of all the things that are surrounding him, all the negative, you don't have to worry about him jumping ship in a year. You're looking at a guy who basically is going to be around 3 to 4 years repairing his reputation with everybody. Hey, we need that. We need a guy who's going to be here 3 to 4 years to provide some stability to the program. And I will say, if he's not brought in as a defensive coordinator, what my heart is telling me is we're going to get Glenn Schumann and we're going to bring in Jeremy Pruitt either as an analyst or a safeties coach.
Yeah.
Schumann is a hot commodity right now, a guy who's already being talked about as a head coach. So you're looking at, if we go to the national title, we win it, and our defense is greatly improved, he possibly could be poached after year one, year two at the latest. But then if Jeremy Pruitt's already on staff, all you got to do is transition him back to defensive coordinator. No drop off whatsoever. We're in good hands, right?
Right. And my thing is, do we get Schumann from Georgia though? Like I believe it's possible. I believe it's possible because he already has the ties to Bama. But I feel like his ties to Kirby and what Kirby's allowing him to establish for his resume, you don't really leave a position like that, in that spot, knowing that Jeremy Pruitt might be in the house too. Like that might create a little conflict, even though they good boys. You know what I'm saying? We know they
Mhm.
cool, they good, but when it comes to business, you gotta get your money. And right now, I think Pruitt will accept anything on the Alabama staff. Um, I don't think we disrespect him and place him as an analyst unless NCAA regulations forces us to. I
Yeah.
don't think we do that, but you gotta think a guy like Schumann, knowing who Pruitt is, does if Pruitt gets the nod first, which we are feeling like that's what's happening, even with the the mysteries of his allegations, not knowing what's going to happen, the end result, but does Schumann really sit and want to share that seat? Because we know Pruitt is not going to come on and have to and get hushed. You know, too much too much skill and experience and know how in that mind of his when it comes to defense. And man, we need Pruitt. I don't understand how that 50 half the people stop thinking about what social media is feeding you and let's talk about what he does when you look at the film. That's what Bama fans should pay more attention to than what social media. They misconstrue and twist everything Coach Saban says. But you look at what happens on the field, what's being sent to the league, you can't knock that Coach Saban isn't the GOAT. So look at what Pruitt does on the field and how he develops players. That's what we need back at Bama.
I agree. And we can't settle for anything less than that at all. We need to implement that right away. I feel like it's a critical time because the fact is Saban has a lot years behind him that he does ahead of him.
Right.
So the time is now to get back to that standard. Now, here's something to think about. We may also be losing our defensive line coach, Freddie Roach. And what I mean by
Mhm.
that is Nico Johnson has interviewed, not Nico Johnson. He wore the
I
same
was about to
number.
say, whoa.
D'Amico Ryans has interviewed for the head coaching position for the Houston Texans, and it went very well. From what I'm being told, that if he gets that job or any head coaching job, he's bringing his boy Freddie Roach with him. So, does that open up the door for a certain defensive line coach who was a dog in Bo Davis to return?
Man, this Bo Davis thing, the fact that I haven't heard his name bothers me. I feel like we're probably one of the few outlets that's talking about it when it comes to Bama football.
And we are
And
the
like,
leader.
yeah, exactly. And that's to me, that's sad because Bo Davis, he's Bama. You get what I'm
He
saying?
is.
Like
Mhm.
he's literally Bama, and maybe not for defensive coordinator. I know we was talking about our dark horses for defensive coordinator. He was one of the guys that both of us listed, but you get a guy like that with that type of coaching experience at defensive line. And kind of, and a lot of times people think that coaching is about being the guy calling the shots, but most of these coaches, they have the good coaches have a sense of what they're experts in, what they
Yeah.
specialize in. And you get a guy like Bo Davis who can just focus on either the linebackers or the defensive line, whether it's interior or exterior uh defensive lineman. Like, man, because and then that's another thing. I think we need to look back into getting an interior defensive line coach and a exterior defensive line coach. Cause I want to see, I don't see a lot of I don't see a lot of difference in techniques across the front no more. You remember you couldn't pinpoint a guy's, lift. You couldn't pinpoint a guy's
Mhm.
go-to move because it was so many different moves happening on the front, and guys were beating three offensive line getting beat by, 5 plays on a drive, or 3 out of 4 plays on the drive. I'm sorry, I'm everywhere with it, but I'm just Pruitt. That just makes sense, man. It just, I mean, how do we not? How do we not go that way if the opportunity is there?
I agree completely. Now,
I,
here's
I,
the
I
thing: the biggest thing to me that stands out about position coaches is not so much of their ability to make calls, but being developers of players. And that's the thing that's been lacking under the Golding regime. Players weren't getting properly developed. There was a huge drop off. I feel like we had a tremendous amount of talent across the board that was underachieving.
right,
We bring in somebody like a Bo Davis, that all changes. You get the most out
correct,
of everybody. These 4 and 5 star guys look league ready in a matter of games. So that's my biggest thing when I'm asking for guys like a Bo Davis to come back. But
right,
so yeah, put Bo Davis on the defensive line. We got Austin Armstrong inside linebackers. Bring Sal Sunseri back to coach outside. If not him,
hmm
this still stay with Bama. Let's go get a defensive analyst right now that is waiting to come back home. And Nico Johnson. That's why I mentioned his name earlier because I was getting
right,
ahead of myself. He's a guy who understands what it means to play for Bama to the Bama standard. Knows what Coach Saban wants. He's won 3 national championships. One of the
right,
hardest hitting son of a guns out there. He's a young guy that I feel like
right,
he can get the most out of his players. And these guys right now can look at him as he's the most recent guy who's done his thing, and they can buy into what he's preaching to them.
right. And then you get a guy like Nico started early with a position as a position coach. Let him make his rounds while Pruitt and whoever, if Pruitt's the next head coach, while they take over for the next 8 to 7, 7 to 8 years. And then by that time, Nico Johnson has some experience, man, been to learn some things. You never know. He might be the next unforeseen prize hire 10 years down the road for the heck. You get what I'm saying? Like it has to be somebody in
Yeah.
the decision making room that's thinking like me and you. You get what I'm saying? Like somebody needs to speak up and say Bo Davis can be our D line coach. you know, like it's so many former Bama players and coaches and people that Saban has touched that spread out amongst the country in positions. They could be making more. They could be doing more. Why not come home? Kirby set the tone with going back to to where you come from. When he left
Right.
Alabama in a perfect situation, everybody, I was projecting Kirby to stay at Bama till Saban left, and Kirby was going to be our next coach. But the moment Mark Rick was gone, I already knew.
Oh
I
yeah.
already knew Kirby was out of there. And then when Saban was hinting towards it throughout that season, like just giving Kirby all the mad props, promoting Kirby, like I knew it was over with. So we don't have a situation with right now at Bama, and we need a situation like that. We need somebody where Saban fully trusts in these guys. And I saw a comment where somebody was saying like Coach Saban wanted Pete. I kind of wanted Pete to figure it out too, man, because he had been in the system. He'd been with the program. His recruiting was there. His ability to relate with these guys when it came to recruiting and getting them to Bama, not just at linebacker, but at most positions on the defensive side and at running back. People don't know that him and old Robert Gillespie, they tag team in tandem on that recruiting trail.
Hmm.
So yeah, I would have loved for Pete to figure it out, but he never did. So good riddance. Have fun. We're gonna put up 60 on you when we see y'all.
Hey, and you know that when we play against him, all we have to do is just run that QB option or QB draw because there's not going to be a spy.
Bro, yeah, or just run the RPO. Make sure you give a hard motion, and because he's not going to have an audible set. Give him a hard motion to the play side, and throw it back to the opposite side. Like it's so simple to beat a Pete Golden coach defense.
Yeah.
Like talent
So,
has really kept Bama afloat the past 3 years. Truly, the
yes.
past 3 years. The past 3 years has really talent has really kept us afloat.
Right. It kind of reminds me a little bit of how Les Miles was successful at LSU. It wasn't because of his coaching prowess, it was because he had so much talent
Talent,
that they were to win in spite of him.
right?
And I know that's kind of a harsh comparison right there, but hey, that's what I felt like when watching Bill O'Brien and Pete Golding. But
Yeah.
listen, man, we've already reached the closing part of our show. Hey,
Hey,
folks in the chat,
before we go on, hey, we got 196 people in the chat. And we
we better
sitting at 23 likes. Please, y'all, smash that like and do another free thing and share it. It's going to help us continue to grow. I know y'all want more people in here to talk trash to and share your opinions with and do all that stuff. So smash that like, smash that share it to your social media outlets. Let's get this show popping. So next Sunday and even on Tuesdays, every day that we come on, y'all are getting the great content that you love to watch.
Yeah, let us know you love us, man. Y'all have done a tremendous job, and we appreciate you guys tuning in every Sunday night. We really have grown tremendously over the weeks when we basically just decided to, off a whim, to do this, and we've been coming back to you repeatedly, and we enjoy it. We love it. But yeah, we're up to 204 people on the live right now. I want to see 204 likes when everything is through processing with YouTube. But
Yes, sir.
listen, before we head it out, I'm gonna hand it over to you for you to tell the folks what's up next for you, where they can find you on social media. Hey guys, what he tells you, y'all listen to what he says now. Show him some love. We're a family of networks here. Jump over to what he's doing and subscribe, follow, whatever it takes. But coach, go ahead and talk to folks.
All right, Justin, appreciate you, brother. And like I said, like I always say, thanks for the opportunity, man. Being on the show is always a great time. Um, but y'all see the setup, changed it up a little bit. I'm actually recording the reaction videos. That's what I was doing today. I got a few days off, so I'm gonna get the content flowing. Um, we're gonna be, doing some reaction videos to some of my guy Wheels, who's on YouTube. Go check him out. He does shortcuts for the you know, advanced, not advanced, like fast forward replays of Bama games and things like that. So I'll be reacting to him, giving live reactions and all that stuff. You can check me out here on YouTube at Coach Smook. You can also check me out on TikTok and Facebook. Find me at Coach Smook on all social media platforms. Twitter also, I've been a little active on Twitter thanks to the
Mhm.
Bama Standard and Justin Riley getting me caught up in different conversations and debates and having me catching me in full petty mode. So if you want full petty mode, check out Twitter. I'm on there, every now and then. But when I am on there, it gets crazy. So I appreciate everybody for the ones that have been coming through. I've been seeing my subscribers. I got to do better by watching my YouTube page, y'all. So y'all continue to follow and it's gonna make me do better. And as far as being accountable and giving y'all that great content that y'all love to see. So yeah,
Yes,
that's where y'all
sir.
can find me. Appreciate y'all. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, definitely. Hey, I don't know why people are leaving right now. Just because we're in the closing credits here doesn't mean you're supposed to go because we have events coming up. We got to tell you about them. If you're leaving out the room, how are you going to know what's coming up, especially with this channel? Okay, so let's talk about what's coming this week for all shows, Bama Standard related. Tuesday night, I want everybody right now to stop what you're doing and listen. I don't want to hear anything about Pete Golding, Bill O'Brien, who's going to be the hire. I want y'all to listen. Tuesday night, we need a record amount of people watching the Bama Standard on Touchdown Alabama Magazine's YouTube channel, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern. The reason why we are having our tribute to Ahmad Galloway, former Alabama running back who passed away
Yeah.
unexpectedly January 9th. We need to show his family, his former teammates, and anyone who loved him how much we care. We need to show the support. So we have millions of Bama fans across the nation. We're one of the most, if not the most passionate fan bases out there. Show it on Tuesday night. And listen, with our shows, we're able to take donations. I'm not telling y'all to do it, but anything that anyone decides to donate, it goes directly to Ahmad Galloway's family and his children. So please keep that in mind. We're going to have several of his former teammates, some coaches. If any of the old folks from my era are in the chat right now, I'm sure you're going to appreciate what we're bringing to you.
Right.
But so please show support on Tuesday night, and in the chat that night, don't talk about vaccines, don't talk about political things or agendas. Let's just leave some good thoughts and appreciation. Leave some moments that you have about Ahmad Galloway. This because, like I said, their family's watching. That's
Right.
what we need. We need to keep the main thing the main thing.
Right.
And then Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Central, right here, the final whistle of Matt Caddell and Chris James. Wednesday night, 7:30 p.m. Central, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, developmental focus points with Bo Scarborough, Blake Sims, Trent Richardson, and Christian Jones. And then Sunday night is going to be us right back with you. And you
Right.
saw how fired up we were about Jalen Milroe and Ty Simpson. We're going to talk a little bit about that next week.
We got to get into that. I think that's gonna be that one right there, chat. That's gonna be the heater because me and Justin, we bros. And when it come to Jalen Milroe, y'all gonna get off my boy. I'm telling you.
I'm on
Y'all,
that same camp right there.
that's what I'm saying. They gonna get off our boy because y'all I guarantee you if Jalen Hurts had a Bill O'Brien, Jalen Hurts wouldn't be a starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles right now.
Nope.
We're gonna leave it at that.
Hey,
For real.
speaking of the Eagles, we need to look Brian Johnson's way. You see the tremendous job he's done everywhere he's gone.
You think that, but with that recruiting thing, how we gonna? You get what I'm saying? That I think that's the only thing with when Saban goes and looks at coaches. I think he really looks at their ability to relate, and if you can't relate to Saban or you can't show that you have the potential to convince him of why you want or why you can affect the position, I don't think, especially when it comes to recruiting, I don't think he looks your way as much. And I think that's what he never got away from when it came to keeping Alabama at the top. His recruiting has always been. We haven't finished outside the top 5 since his second year in recruiting.
It's something to think about. We'll bring up, but guys, before y'all exit out, before we close up shop, I want you to hit that like button, subscribe if you have not yet already done so. We're trying to get to 4,000 subscribers, and we can't do that without you. So please help the cause. We love you guys. Now do it for us. Have a good night and roll tide.
Roll tide. Y'all have a good one.
Yes, sir.